this on so everybody can hear me out there and up here. So good evening, good evening. I enjoyed that very much. So I got ahead of myself for the last group, so I'm gonna make sure I do this in my own order in my head. But I wanted to ask you all, because you've been working on this music, I take it, for a little bit, at least a week or so, right? To get ready for this concert. So what can I get a couple of folks to share with us like what they felt like went really well after what you've been working on with these pieces? Ron is going to look and stare at me this way. All right, it's okay. You can be happy about what just happened. You really can. You can brag on yourselves. Oh, I will. Oh, I will. What'd you like? That's part of it too, not to just find what's wrong, but what you did well. There's things. There's a lot of things. Yes. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Really good dynamic contrast. Anyone else want to brave it? It appears to still be alive. Survived giving that comment. So, anyone else want to brave it? Yes. And matching as far as and making that happen. I will agree with that. All right, trombone sections representing. Anyone else? All right. Yes. Style. You like that? Like the differences of and for each of the pieces? I'll agree with that. Good stuff. And I would imagine these things that you've been working on. So, again, I know that we work really hard on making these pieces and playing them the best that we possibly can, but it's just as important to celebrate the things that are really going well. And you all have lots of things going really well. So, even if you're a little kind of quiet to do that here tonight, I hope that you're doing it personally, that you've got the little yes moments, right, of what happened. So really good stuff. So I don't know, I know we're probably over time, and so I don't want to keep everybody too long, but I recorded you all kind of talk while I was listening. I have to say, I don't have a ton of notes on the Sousa. I thought, just really nice, just listening to each other. You all really understand the march style, all those things that comes across. With third suite, I have not heard that piece in a while, so that was nice to hear that again. Again, this one, I don't have many notes on this one at all. I think this one is well within your wheelhouse, and again, the soloists throughout the piece or small ensembles, just really wonderful job. I was kind of, and there were so many and all the way across, but you should really take pride in kind of how that happened. And percussion with both the Sousa and the third suite, really nice job of not overpowering, just super tasty all the way through, supporting kind of what's happening, good stuff. So the only thing, there's just a couple of moments of just, this is, if you want to look at the second movement really quickly, the only rhythm that I ever had any problem with clarity with you all is, let's find one of these. Second movement, like 2 measures before C, it happens in a couple other places where you have the rhythm quarter note, 8th rest, 8th note, quarter note. And so that might be something that's familiar to it. That measure right there, whenever you see that rhythm in this particular movement, that one's not quite as clear. We've got some differences on what the tempo is and kind of how to space that. So we're not going to do it here, but just put that on your radar. Again, there's a lot of people on the stage, right, and putting that together. So just keep listening to it, because there's so much being asked of you throughout this piece with as far as style, articulation, and so you should be really proud of kind of how you're matching style and articulation in a piece like this, because there's a lot of detail work. But and really musical with this piece, just kind of staying with the second movement. There's just a few other examples where I think you all still have even more dynamic range capabilities. I hear piano, I hear forte, there's no problem with that, that's coming across, but as well as you all play, I think that there's even more space to kind of move a little further on the top end and on the bottom end without being in any danger of making bad sounds. You'd have to really, really, really convince me that you all could possibly make a bad sound, because you really make really nice ones, like all the time. And so that's really great fundamentals. So I'm thinking like the coda movement too, where it starts at piano and then all of a sudden 5 bars later it's fortissimo. Again, you all are always, you play with wonderful control, but I think that there's just a capability to have even more space in that dynamic range. And so let me spend just a little bit more time with the salcedo. And so there's a lot being asked of you all, for sure, in this piece. And again, I provided some notes with this, and again, as far as playing the notes and rhythms, you can do that no problem. From my vantage point out there, which is different than being right here, so that's, I don't know how often you all get to rehearse in here and to kind of hear what that sounds like. And so, to begin with, percussion, really nice as far as dynamics and kind of how that's fitting with everything. And this happens a few times throughout this piece, where especially trumpets and horns, it either is a descending, like in measure 3 of this piece, where it's kind of a boom, 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 boom kind of situation, or it goes up kind of later on. We want to make sure all of those entrances are equally represented. And that's a little picky thing, but you all play really, really well. And so just to make sure we hear those, sometimes we don't hear 3rd and 4th trumpet or 3rd and 4th horn as clearly as we might hear the first part. So just making sure that we hear all of those whenever that happens. But kind of where I wanted to, where things kind of change from kind of the characteristic of what I've heard from you all, through your concert, is starting in, make sure I've got my notes here correctly, like measure 50, 56, and then getting into kind of 77 when it's just kind of really, so many things are happening, lots of different lines. Again, this is from my vantage point back there, so I can't, it might be different from standing right here, but it's particularly, the first time that I really heard any balance issues at all was starting at like 50, trombones, low reeds that have that kind of ostinato thing happening there. Just take it easy so we can hear what's happening with the upper woodwinds. And then percussion the first time at 56 is when you overpower the clarinets a bit. So just making sure that we're just checking that out. And then all through this section, I don't know if you're going to be performing this again, but I would say have a conversation through this whole next big section about what line you want to have come through the most, because it's really easy with percussion parts for that to just kind of be what's setting the stage for everybody to try to hear themselves. And again, you're not playing with bad sounds. That's not what's happening, but it's hard to tell what you want the audience to really kind of come through in that section. And we sometimes get some clarity issues on the kind of fanfare motives. And so my horn friends, trombone friends, trumpet friends, even sax friends, making sure the beginnings of those notes and even those kind of fanfare motives really comes through nice and clear. I haven't heard this piece before, and it's just a lot of chases, and again, you all you're playing it technically really well. But that I would just caution in that moment to just really kind of clarify what the most important lines are to come through. And in percussion, you're playing it really well, and it's some of Mr. Salcedo's fault for just throwing fortissimos everywhere in that too. So you're playing what is being asked of you. Percussion, I have to give you another shout out. You do this at the very beginning, but it's really nice. The very beginning, and then over at measure 90, how you bring that back and allow the upper woodwinds to come through. So I just want to definitely say that for you all. There's one concept that I want to talk to you all about before we wrap up. And it's something that I heard you do a couple of times, so that's why I just wanted to talk about it, because again, you all do so many things really, really nicely. I am looking at measure 102, still in the salcedo. And again, it's something that happens again later. So 102 to 106, right? The arrival of that crescendo is the downbeat of 106. Everybody with me? You all are definitely playing a crescendo, a tutti crescendo, and you're making really good sounds. I just want to talk to you a little bit about, and it's more, talk to them and kind of decide what your concept is of this, but we're not all getting to the downbeat the same way. And for me, my preference, but that might be different, it depends on your conductor. My preference in something, this is a true example of a tooty crescendo with the winds, right? Percussion, you're kind of doing your thing back here. But with this, I think of the crescendo happening more from the middle and the low voices, and less crescendo from the top voices. But middle and low voices, you have to go all the way to the downbeat. And that time, you let off the gas a little bit before the downbeat, and the upper sounds were going all the way to it. And so it's going to change how that release rings and what the intonation and the balance sounds like if just thinking about that. I don't know if I dare even try to do this. You're in 2 here in this moment. This is at 102. I didn't hear 2. I'll give it a whirl here. So let's try that. And I just want you to think about that. So this is 102. We might go a little bit into 106. And I'll see if I can not get in your way. All right. So this is 102, and again, upper, like folks sitting closest to me. If you're playing a note that's at the top of your staff, so this is even trombone 1, right? If it's at whatever your staff is, if you're at the top of it or above, you're doing a little less crescendo than the folks that are playing in the staff or near the bottom of the staff, no matter what instrument or staff you're looking at, and make sure that you're going all the way to the downbeat, that exclamation point of that crescendo. All right, here's 102. It's a tiny little thing, again, for so many things that you do really well, but that same thing happens several times in this piece. And so if you can really kind of just think about what you sound like all the way to the end, it's going to make the performance of this piece sparkle even more than it already does. Right? You're really doing a nice job with it. It's just going to add just that much more. And that's a concept that you can take with you to other pieces, right? And just listen for that and just thinking about that concept of the 2 crescendo. Again, so much being asked of you in this piece. You're handling it extremely well. It seems like you enjoy playing this piece. It seems like you have fun with it, so that's always a good thing too. So I really appreciate the opportunity to hear you all. And again, I know we didn't play a lot, but I hope that some of what I've offered here and what I'll share with on the recording can be of some help. But I hope I get a chance to hear you all again very soon. But for the first time, my opportunity to get to hear you all, I'm very impressed. Good stuff, really good stuff. And though it doesn't really matter if you really impressed me, as long as you were really happy with what you did, and I hope that you are, because it was really, really, really nice job. How about a round of applause for this fantastic?